Hello, everyone. So today, our first writing lesson is actually going to be about personal narratives. That is our first writing unit in fifth grade. And I know a lot of you guys have probably heard this word before, and you've probably even written a personal narrative before. But we are going to go over what a personal narrative is, what some examples are, and then we are going to read an example of a personal narrative. And then we are going to be working a little bit each day. And then by Friday, you are going to have your first paragraph written for your own personal narrative. So, what is a personal narrative? You are the main character in this true story. So if you are writing a personal narrative, it is about you. It's not about your friend. It's not about your family. It's not about Miss Dowdy. And it has to be true. You can't have, you're writing a story and let's say, for example, I woke up one morning and all of the sudden, bam, there was a UFO in my bedroom. The alien came out and said, "Blarp, blarp," which means hello. Now, is that a true story? No, that is not a true story. That would be a fiction story. And we will be able to write made-up stories and non-fiction stories a little bit later on. But this has to be a true story about you. That's what your narrative is going to be about. Here are some examples. A story about the time that I hit a home run. So if you play basketball or football or baseball or you're into gymnastics or whatever hobby you do, you could write about the time that you scored a goal or you hit a home run or you finally mastered the dance move. Now, it could also be a story about the time that you baked a birthday cake for someone in your family, Or you could even write a personal narrative about the time that you missed the school bus and were late to school. So those are just some examples of what a personal narrative is. Now, I am going to read you a personal narrative, and I want you to listen and to read along with me, to follow along, and to see why this would be a personal narrative based off of what we just said. Remember, you are the main character and it's a true story. Now, obviously, we didn't write this, so it's not going to be us being the main character, but we are going to see if this person is when they write. Unexpected guest. Wake up, sweetheart, wake up. I heard a voice whispering and my arm being gently nudged. I rubbed my eyes and squinted to help my eyes adjust. I could see my mom leaning over me in her pajamas. "Mom, what is it?" I whispered back. "Shh, follow me and come see," Mom answered. I watched Mom swiftly walk through the cabin hallway and into the living room where the moon lit up the entire room. The wooden floor of the cabin was cold under my feet. Mom led the way to the big window where the moon was shining through, and she knelt down on the couch. I slowly knelt down on the couch next to her, and we leaned over the top looking out the window together. "Do you see them? Isn't it something?" she asked with amazement in her voice. My eyes searched through the darkness, through the giant pine trees, and up the hillside out the window. It was very dark, but the stars glittered the sky, and the moon was nice and full. Suddenly, there they were. It was breathtaking. A whole herd of elk were traveling up the hillside. Some were stopped, grazing on grass and carefully searching for danger around them. Some smoothly led the way up the hill as the others trailed behind them. Their eyes reflected the light of the moon as they cautiously scanned the forest. There were so many of them, 10, maybe 15. They seemed so much larger in person than I'd seen in magazines. My mom and I sat frozen as statues as we observed their every move. Finally, the last one made its way up the grassy hill and disappeared through the trees. My heart sank a bit, and I felt sad to see them go. I glanced up at Mom, still in awe. She grinned at me, and I laid my head on her shoulder. She put her arms around me and squeezed as I closed my eyes and smiled. I will never forget that night that I heard her soft whisper, "Wake up, sweetheart, wake up." So, as you can see, this is a personal narrative. Now, is the mom writing this story? Is she narrating this story? No. Her child is. She's narrating the story. And she is also kind of saying like what her mom did. She's explaining a small moment. So this is a personal narrative about her getting woken up in the middle of the night. The moon was shining so bright, and she saw elk everywhere, and she was seeing what they were doing. They were grazing on grass. Some of them were going up the hill. There was a lot of them, and she was just frozen in it all. You can see that this person writing this story puts a lot of detail into this small moment, because I'm sure that this moment didn't last 5 days long, did it? No, it didn't even last a whole day. It lasted some couple minutes, right? So you do need to make sure that when you are writing your own personal narrative, which will be starting this week, that you're choosing a small moment to write about, something that was important to you or a really interesting moment. So we are going to talk more about writing narratives tomorrow.